Welcome back, ladies and gentlefolk. This is the season for all that is dwelling in the past to come back to our life and get us a good haunting. Be there vampires, ghouls, goblins, ghosts, or just past mistakes. Dwelling on our own inevitabilities as life, death, and bills. So, today we're going to do something that I haven't done in a long time. And long time, I mean 15 years. I'm going to creep back into cosplay territory. I want to present you a well-beloved literary character as she deserved to be represented, instead of how she's perceived in this day and age. I do coming from that area of artistry. However, you're never going to find evidence of my early cosplay work. All of them are hidden on very obscure sites in quality that could be best described as picture that was made with a doorbell camera. So don't even try. As you might know, I'm a book girly. I love to read. I love to reread. This year again, I decided to take part in rereading Dracula with Dracula Daily, a free subscription newsletter that sends Bram Stoker's 1897 novel to the subscribers via email, delivered real time. That novel takes place within a single calendar year, starting from May 3 till November 7. Accordingly, Dracula Daily sends the respective portion of the novel to you, delivered on the same date. Obviously, I'm going to put the link in the description if you're interested in these sort of shenanigans. I would highly recommend. But today we are not focusing on Dracula. Today we are focusing on someone else who, in my personal opinion, has been greatly shunned in case of understanding. We're going to talk about Lucy Westenra today. And this is very important to me because I had many issues understanding her. And when I finally find out why I have a problem to resonate with her character, or to understand her character traits and motives, I got ducking mad. Today we're going to mostly talk about the novel Dracula, but we're going to focus on understanding her original character and motives, and the brief time we spent with her in the book and with her diary entries. During the Victorian era, women's role were very much narrowed down to the domestic life, to live confined in their own home to certain expectations. They depended on male hegemony, and they are idealized to be the perfect mother and a good wife. They were bred and raised to rule the household. At this point, of course, we are talking about white upper-class women, because they are the ones who are represented in the book. We are not going to judge on the book. We're going to look at the characters and the facts. Those who doesn't comply with the rules of society are not deemed to be good women. They were looked at as inferior to men, but nevertheless, towards the end of the Victorian period, women started to transgress, overcome the rules that society imposed on them based on that alleged inferiority, and there was a new movement emerged that called the New Woman. The perception of women started to change, and it reflects in literature too. During the late 19th century, the New Woman shocked society, and the gender conflicts became more intense because men started to lose their unchallenged supremacy due to the fact that they were not the single earners anymore for a household, due to due to women's role changing on the labor market, and it's challenged their autonomy in the family. We were talking about this very much imbalance in family dynamics previously. Furthermore, Victorian women regarded to have no sexual desires, and this new idea of new woman challenged this view too. So first time in history, the idea of women's sexuality as an existing concept emerged, and people were afraid. So we have to talk about Lucy. And if we look at to her character in the book, she is 19 years old. Considered to be a Victorian woman, she is a pure and innocent character. As all the idealized Victorian women, she has a fierce desire to get married. She is aware of the duties assumed her when she is getting married, and she considers male superiority as a fact. She accepts women as inferior and men as physically and in any way stronger, and so her ultimate salvation is to get saved by a big, strong man. Wanting to marry and be a good wife, she has 3 suitors to aspire to marry her. These are Dr. Seward, Quincy Morris, and Arthur Holmwood. Lucy seemingly loves Arthur and wants to marry him. Therefore, she rejects Dr. Seward and Quincy Morris. She is happy for her proposals. On the other hand, this overshadows the sadness of the rejection that she has to give, because she thinks that she disappointed them. So this is the first crack on her supposed idealness of being the proper Victorian woman, mother and wife, because she is sad for rejecting those men, and a proper Victorian woman would want to marry only one man and one man only. So the second crack is when she rejects Quincy Morris and his proposal. She allows him to kiss her, which is highly indecent for a young unmarried Victorian woman at those times. Although she represents, even with these cracks, the epitome of innocence and properness in herself, she exhibits some behavior that vaguely resembles to that idea of the new woman we mentioned before. For instance, exploring alternatives to marriage, or tending to feel free to kiss Quincy Morris. And these are the characteristics that get emphasized when she turns into a vampire. This dreaded new woman emerges from the pure and innocent and soft character of Lucy and scares everybody shitless. She leaves her moral Victorian values behind to become this unbridled monster. Before she turns into a vampire, she was mostly described by her friend Mina, and she dwells a great deal on physical descriptions. Gradually the description changed, although Lucy tries to keep this cheerful appearance, as Arthur Holmwood asks for help from Jack Seward and tells him that she looks awful and is getting worse every day. These are of course the time when she's been already attacked and plagued by both Dracula and her sleepwalking habits. Improvements with the 4 blood transfusions and changing for the worse come in pairs, but more frequently the patient is described as chalkily pale. The red has gone even from her lips, and the gums and her face bones standing out prominently. And of course, then she dies. Vampire Lucy is described by Jack Seward as dark-haired woman dressed in discernment of the grave. Lucy Westenra, but yet how she changed. Sweetness turned into adamantine, heartless cruelty, and the purity to voluptuous wantonness. Nothing is left for them from the sweetness and purity of Lucy. She is described as snarling and animal-like, who has every feature that a good woman would never have. She's angry, she's cruel, she's deadly, she's physically strong, and of course, above all, highly sexual and voluptuous. Before the transformation, she's very eager to get married. She is thinking about how her home going to look like, and she's very sweet and tender. Lucy's arrival in the crypt after her death shows the monstrosity of her actions. Here the familiar picture of a woman tenderly holding a baby turned into a feverish nightmare. Unlimited kindness and the virtue of a mother are replaced with animal instinct and sexuality. This shows that maternal instinct and openly displayed sexuality are absolutely contradict each other's in Stoker's mindset and in his work. This very much of a contrast between traditional roles and controversial ideas surfaces also regarding her ideas of marriage. Also, this passing fancy of a polygamy could be also observed, the practice that Dracula has with his brides. And let's not forget that thus when Lucy's wish to marry not one but 3 or more men, as much as she wants, formally accomplished by the blood transfusion she gets from all her suitors plus Van Helsing, it seals her fate. First Arthur, her fiancé, gives blood, then Jack Seward, Van Helsing, and then Quincy Morris. It seems that only men can provide sort of this salvation, because the brave man's blood is the best cure when woman's in trouble. After Lucy's death, Arthur was speaking of his part in the operation, where his blood was transfused into Lucy's vein. Arthur was saying that he felt they are really married after this, and that she was his wife in the sight of God now because of the blood transfusion. That thought makes Van Helsing completely hysterical, because as he explains to Dr. Seward, said Arthur, so if then, what about the other? Then this sweet maiden is a polyandrist. Blood is the symbol of consummation of marriage. And in this scene, Lucy thoughtlessly got her wish fulfilled to be married to all the men she loved, plus the doctor, thus joining Dracula and his 3 brides as a polygamist, breaking the ultimate rule of Victorian society. The new woman Lucy, who is not representing the ideals of Victorian society anymore, must be killed because it threatens all the roles of the patriarchal society and men feel intimidated of her. So it may be that Lucy could be killed so her image and her idea and the idea of fragile, sweet Victorian woman could be kept alive. She in fact serves as a uniting icon to all the members of the group, and she symbolizes Western womanhood that the group strives to save. So in general, it's all fine and dandy that we look at these characters through another lens, through our modern lens, but that's Lucy, and she's one of the chief character, and as I mentioned, the uniting point of the Scooby Gang against Dracula and his machinations. But do we have another character? We have Mina, who I am not really fond of. Not necessarily in the best possible way, but there is no denying of their similarities. They are friends. Mina and Lucy are best friends. However, they do not share the same status. They do not share the same upbribing. Mina is an orphan. They have definitely a lot of similarity. She is also the paragon of virtue and innocence and all these kind of nice, very, very Victorian values that the author and people at that age were very much up for. Lucy differs from Mina in one crucial aspect, and that is that Lucy is very much sexualized. And now we obviously know by knowledge and research that sexuality was very much demonized in Western Victorian society as in whole. Lucy's physical beauty captivates her suitors, and she has some sort of a playfulness in her character and in her mannerisms, and a tiny bit of a naivete, but this is one of the things that differs, that Mina never feels this playfulness, this desirability. She actively says that she never felt this. And that's one of the things why Mina a little bit struck me as a pick-me girl. Obviously, she is one of the most complex characters. Mina Harker is one of the most complex characters in the book. And she is a very well-written and motivated and diverse character in total. Mina technically the only one who escapes decapitation that are reserved for vampires, and since we know that there is a chance that she becomes a vampire when she dies, this is very much a feat. She is clever, dutiful, chaste. She is the most ideal Victorian woman, if it's possible to be described. Despite the fact that she does submit to the orders of men around her, she does not refrain from surpassing gender roles. Despite that the man's attitude towards her is borderline patronizing most of the times, her intellectual and secretarial efforts are the one that enable the man to track down and ultimately kill Dracula. Although that she is emotional and borderline hysterical at the beginning of the novel, she does not let her emotionality control over her rational feelings. And it is this allows her to stay in the role of a caring wife and dutiful mother. She herself refers woman's role as a mother, which is an absolutely understandably traditional role. Key point that makes the two characters differ does not stop them being friends. It does not stop Mina to care for Lucy as sort of a mother, traveling to Whitby, supervising her friends because Lucy is suffering from somnambulism, which is sleepwalking. And she does try to save Lucy as much as she can. But of course, what sort of chance you have against a 300-year-old warlord who just wants a bite of your neck? There is no conflict between the two characters besides of their view on their own role in Victorian society sort of differs, and that's what makes Mina a winner and alive, however, being marked by Dracula and the holy host that burned her between her eyes, and Lucy, a dead monster. So I made some deliberate choices regarding the costume itself. First of all, it's being the colors. I'm well aware of the Victorian burial traditions, including burying people in shrouds. And I decided to mix that up with the also popular version of Lucy being buried in her wedding dress. And I decided to create something out of the two that, in my opinion, can represent her as being the undead. Let's not forget that she is a churchyard entity, and churchyard entities do appear in folklore in their burial shrouds. Ghosts and vampires outside the churchyard usually appear in dresses, and there was a beautiful video about this a couple of weeks ago, if you're interested. So as a churchyard ghost, I decided to first of all go with the white, second of all to mix these two very, very popular ways to get buried to represent her. I made some choices based also on the fact that when Mina starts to describe Lucy at the first time, she describes her in her lawn dress. And lawn is a good quality cotton. Very popular day dress. Very much lawn dresses made out of white cotton. And guess what is made out of? Good quality lawn too. Burial shrouds. So it wasn't a hard choice to make something in between. Second is her appearance. I did some digging around classical vampire literature, and obviously, since everybody has had different ideas of how to portray based on different mythologies and based on different traditions, I have to go with the classical Slavic and more classical Romanian style of vampire portrayal, due to the fact that Dracula has a castle there. Most likely, he belonged there. So I decided to go with the classical image of the Romanian vampire illustrations and beliefs, of course, which does include some different entities, different types of blood-sucking undead creatures. One of them, which is more fitting for me for this style of Dracula, is the Strigoi. They have the ability to turn into a wolf or a dog. They do have the ability to fly. They do not eat garlic. And they feast on the blood of the living. These are the attributes of the Strega or Strigoi. There are other very popular vampire myths in the area, including the Moroi, but these are more or less the same. There are very popular depictions of these particular species of vampire, and that was the point when I decided to again mix the classic with the aesthetic, with the mix the classic with the symbols of to mix the classics with the symbols of the retelling of this. I just wanted to chime in to protect myself. Every retelling of the story, every new rethinking and rephrasing and forgets out something. The core element of Lucy, the core element of me, the core element is kindness. Kindness is the highest kind of bravery. And since softness, hominess, and absolute goodness are not considered to be nice but gullible in this world of ours, this is what they forget out. Of course, they describe Mina as the most complex character because they forget to see the complexity of me, because they only see a victim instead of a person. They only see an idea instead of a person who, after her fall, could be bastardized, pointed at, reflected at, and referenced. Like, see, we have to protect them. They are weak. If we take something for the new year, let's take this lesson. Don't mistake kindness with weakness. And don't forget that hunger looks evil from the other end of the cutlery. Sometimes people who show up aggressive, angry, and hostile, they are sometimes just hurt. We have no obligation to fix them, to save them. We have only obligation to understand them. And sometimes they are a 300-year-old warlord and you have no fighting chance. But, oh well, can't everybody be me? We all fight on our own accordance. And the key is understanding. When it matters, look behind the curtain. When it matters, look behind somebody's eyes and see what makes them cruel, what makes them angry, what makes them hurt. And if you have a capacity, act accordingly. So, if you take away something for the next year, is that you have to be kind to each other, because hate never makes the world go round. It's always love. Love always wins. That this be a threat or a promise, it always does. So, till next time. But